Don't worry. We're in black right now. Exterior speaker. Happy National Grilled Cheese Day, and welcome to Shamrock Sports. It's the final show. We'll talk about what happened last week with the Notre Dame women's basketball team in the national championship game, and also our favorite moments from the past year. Shamrock Sports starts right now.
Hello, I'm Father John Jenkins, president of the University of Notre Dame, and thank you for watching Shamrock Sports.
Second floor Duncan Student Center for the final time. Austin Rooney, John Horlander, Johnny Soper. Happy that you could be with us. Well, last week it was an impressive win on Friday for the Notre Dame women's basketball team over UConn, and then couldn't quite get the back-to-back championships on Sunday against Baylor. But let's start with the win over UConn because it really was impressive. 81-76. There are a few things that I like more than watching Gino Auriemma grimace. And he certainly did so. Arike Ogunbowale, 14 points in the final quarter to lead the Fighting Irish. So they didn't get the championship win, which of course was the goal. But how about that game against UConn on Friday?
Well, no, I agree with you. I think the most satisfying thing in women's basketball watching Gino Auriemma lose.
Right.
And to do it for the second straight year in the Final Four in slightly less dramatic fashion just felt very good. The way that Notre Dame controlled that final quarter was very impressive. And it's just unfortunate they couldn't round it out against Baylor.
You know, I'm actually going to disagree with you here about the best moment of women's college basketball.
That's a surprise to everyone.
Gino Auriemma grimace. You know, I sort of like Gino Auriemma. You know,
of course
a little part of me. You know, I think he's an excellent head coach, and he's been there so many times, and he is the best coach in women's college basketball history, as far as we can see right now, or at least top two. Pat Summitt might be in that conversation as well, along with Muppet. But you know, I think that he.
Nice of you to throw Muppet in there.
As an afterthought, you
Jesus.
know.
No, but I'm just saying, I think that Gino Auriemma is an outstanding coach, and I don't like to see him fail necessarily.
I love to see him fail when it's Notre Dame.
Do you like to see Coach K fail, too?
I also do like to see Coach K fail. But I think, you know, the way that Notre Dame defensively stifled UConn down the stretch, the way they came back, I mean, I don't know what it is about those first halves in tournament games, but Notre Dame really struggled. They did it again against Baylor. They did it last year in the title game against Mississippi State. I mean, just the first half, I guess it's just the jitters, but you think after being there enough times, they'd find a way to work it out. But the way that Notre Dame stifled UConn defensively down the stretch, and Brianna Turner with that huge block to seal the game, and Arike Ogunbowale hitting those free throws at the end of the UConn game.
Not at the end of the
Baylor
game,
but
unfortunately.
no, I think
she hit two buzzer beaters last year.
She did.
She earned herself
She
a mulligan.
did.
Now I get it;
She
those are really high pressure situations.
And she played really well throughout the Baylor game, or at least in the second half she did.
26 lead changes and 9 ties. And the UConn game. It was back and forth, and then fourth quarter, UConn goes up with by 9 with 7:52 to play, and then Notre Dame goes on a 13-2 scoring run almost effortlessly. I mean, watching that game, it's just like the comeback just happened. There was, I mean, it felt like they did it easily, and then the Turner block at the end, which, by the way, gave her Notre Dame's all-time record in blocked shots. That blocked shot,
way to do it.
yeah, 371 for Brianna Turner. Then, of course, you turn to Sunday, and Baylor coming into the tournament the top overall seed with one of the best rosters in Baylor history, and Notre Dame one of the best rosters as well, because this was a team that returned every starter from last year's championship team, plus Brianna Turner, who didn't play at all the previous season. Arike Ogunbowale goes off for 31 points, the second most ever in an NCAA championship game, and concludes her career at Notre Dame with the most points in program history, 2,600. They do not get the win, but an unbelievable effort after being down by 17 points.
Now, I think that I'm going to take a couple of things from this, the first of which is with Marina Mabry, who was really cold between the first 4 games in that NCAA tournament and turned things around in the Final Four and then again in the championship game. She had 11 points in the Final Four game. That was the only time throughout the tournament she had double digits in points and added 21 points in the championship game. So she really started hitting her threes. This is someone who averaged 3 points a game for the first 4 games in the tournament. So it was encouraging to see her play well, and this was a team that I thought, at least, with the amount of talent on their roster, was going to get it done. It was disappointing to see they fell just short.
Yeah, I think they just got outsized physically. Yeah. There was no answer for that big center down low for Baylor, and quite frankly, the defense in general was lacking. Notre Dame allowed just too many open looks, too many easy shots, and no matter when, every time Notre Dame just seemed to need a stop and need a bucket to get themselves back in the game, they couldn't get the stop. And they'd come back down the court, and Marina Mabry would effortlessly hit a 3, but then you couldn't get another stop and you couldn't get anything going. But the game really changed when Lauren Cox went down with that knee injury, and thank goodness she's okay because it looked gruesome on television. But at that moment, Notre Dame went on a huge run, completely came back, but then again, down the stretch, the one time that they needed to stop, they couldn't get it.
Now, I was actually surprised after the injury that Notre Dame went on such a run. I thought Baylor would take that and use it as momentum to power them through to the championship to win it all. And I guess they did ultimately as they won the game, but I thought that it might be actually Baylor who goes on a run late in the game and puts this thing out of reach after the injury.
I think Muffet McGraw deserves all of the credit there, I think, because she is the single best game coach that I have ever seen in Notre Dame sports. She has this incredible ability to take a moment like that and completely turn the game on its head. Notre Dame was a different team after that injury. And obviously you never hope for something like that to happen, but that sort of momentum shift in a championship game is the type of stuff that wins you a game like that. And those free throws down the stretch, I mean, sometimes the bounces just don't go your way. But that was a moment, and Muffet McGraw took that moment, and she absolutely turned the game on its head. And she deserves an incredible amount of credit for that.
Yeah, Notre Dame started 1 of 16 from the field, 1 of 16, and still managed to come back in that game.
Score 81 points.
Yeah, 82 to 81, the final score for the highest scoring offense in the country, averaging 89 points per game over the course of the season. This starting lineup for the Notre Dame women's basketball team, one of the best in history, if not the best in history. That five-sum finished with 10,230 points, which stands as the most all-time, not just in Notre Dame history and not just in Division I women's basketball team, but Division I men's or women's basketball. That is the most all-time scored by a group of 5 people. This was a remarkable, remarkable team.
It was, and that's why I was talking about earlier how I expected this Notre Dame team to win the national championship this year because the group was so talented. And after they beat UConn and got revenge from the loss earlier this season at Purcell Pavilion, I thought they'd walk to victory over Baylor. Of course, Baylor turned out, I did. I thought that after winning the game versus UConn, the amount of talent Notre Dame has, they've been there before, they won it last year versus Mississippi State. I thought everything was showing in the right direction for Notre Dame. I was actually, frankly, quite surprised to see Notre Dame go down by so much in the first half. And once they tied the game late, I thought Notre Dame was going to win that game. But of course, it was Baylor who ended up coming up on top.
Yeah, and I wasn't particularly nervous at halftime. The way that Notre Dame had played in the first half. You've seen it before. They had like 17 points, I think, in the first half of last year's championship game. So there was no time to worry just yet. But again, it came down to defense. I mean, Baylor scored over 50 points in the paint. They outscored Notre Dame by more than 30 points, or at 30 points exactly in the paint. And if you can't get stops like that down low, if they're just getting easy bucket after easy bucket, I mean, nearly 2/3 of their points came right up next to the basket. I mean, Notre Dame needed some stops defensively, and they just didn't get them, and that's why this game didn't go their way. Yeah,
unfortunate to see this group, so talented, lose their final game as seniors. Jessica Shepard, 19 double-doubles this season, tied Natalie Achanwa's single-season record at Notre Dame. So a ton of great accomplishments across the board. You'd like to have the championship, although winning it last year for this group, I think, was special. Back-to-back would have been nice, but they had a terrific season.
And they weren't done yet. The WNBA draft night a couple nights ago, all 5 Notre Dame starters go in the top 20. Arika Gumbuala is going to be playing alongside Skylar Diggins when she comes back
cool is that?
from having her child.
Two of the best Notre Dame women's basketball players in history.
Now, I will also make this point. It is great to see all of these players get drafted in the NBA draft, and it's really special. 5 picks in the top 20. But you have to remember, what does that mean for this Notre Dame team next season? And without a single one of these 5 players coming back, and these 5 players shouldered the entire load. It wasn't like they're playing 25, 28 minutes a night. These players were playing in games that mattered 35-plus minutes each. So players off the bench were usually not getting more than 5 to 10 minutes a game. So these players on the bench next year have to be shouldering that load. The question is, what happens to them? Are they going to be players who can, carry a team to maybe a top 10 finish next year? I'm a little bit even worried about that. I could see this team slipping to 15 to 20 next year in the college basketball rankings. It's going to be a surprise to a lot of Notre Dame women's basketball fans who expect them to be there year in and year out. But next year, I'm just not seeing it.
That's a good point, and they do have a lot of shoes to fill, but a lot of great young talent coming in as well. Notre Dame has built an incredible recruiting base, and I think that what's that?
You always have Muffin McGraw, one of the greatest coaches.
No question. I mean, I think this year's roster really was the culmination of Notre Dame out recruiting over the past number of years, and that has only continued. So the recruits keep pouring in, and I think they're in good shape, despite the fact that they do lose an incredible starting five. Let's move to spring football. It's been forever since we've talked about football. And I know you've been like waiting for this forever because you want to talk about like the kickers and punters or something, and we'll get to that. But over the offseason, it's interesting. After such a great regular season, and then such a disappointing end, you have to think and approach the offseason in a unique way because you can't say that they need to revamp everything and they need to go back to the drawing board because they went undefeated, yet at the same time, it felt like Notre Dame was so far away watching that Clemson game, just the physicality of Clemson and how does Notre Dame get to that next level? So that's sort of what we've been trying to pay attention to throughout spring football. One of the things that Ian Book struggled with last year was the deep ball, and it was really his primary weakness. And according to we've not seen practice, but according to the journalists who cover the team who have been there, he's improved on that a lot. And hopefully we can see a sampling of that in tomorrow's Blue Gold game.
Yeah, so from what I've heard, this offense is going to be electric. They lose some key pieces here and there. Miles Boykin, Alize Mack, some very important receiving parts are going to be gone, but you return Ian Book with a full year of starting experience, and you're going to return guys like Chase Claypool, guys like Kevin Austin, who didn't get a lot of playing time next year, is going to play a big role this year. Yeah. This receiving core is going to be elite next year. And with Ian Book, with a year of experience under his belt, I cannot wait to see how he's grown. And if this team really is going to be as cohesive as you would expect a second-year starting unit to be, that offense is going to be dangerous.
Another player you didn't mention there, Cole Kmet, who has decided to stop playing baseball for the meantime. Not sure if he's going to come back next year. I'd have to think he would because next year would be his draft season. But he decided to stop playing football, focus just on football here in the spring, and say, you know what, let me give you my best foot forward here in football and try to become one of the elite tight ends in college football. And you mentioned a name in Kevin Austin, who I also think is a very, very highly touted receiver, someone who could be huge for Notre Dame next season. Chase Claypool coming back, as you mentioned. And the one piece that Notre Dame is really going to miss next year is Dexter Williams, because he was such an elite running back, especially with his breakout speed. And whether you're looking at someone like Jafar Armstrong or Tony Jones Jr., anyone like that who may be returning next year, they don't have the same breakout speed that someone like Dexter Williams who could take over a game in that category. Yeah,
no question. But the wide receiver core is extremely talented. You mentioned Claypool. Chris Fink comes back, and Fink's not the most physically dominating player, but he's a reliable player. Michael Young, Kevin Austin, Lawrence Keys, Braden Lenzy, some of these younger guys who we didn't get a chance to see a ton of last season are coming in, and I agree with you. I think this offense is going to be really powerful. There are a lot of question marks, though, on the defensive side of the ball. Notre Dame has a lot to replace there, especially in the linebackers and secondaries. And there's sort of this cycle of, at least in practice from what we've heard, different guys plugging in different positions, trying to figure out what works. The one fixture seems to be Asmar Bilal, who sort of has a lock on the Mike linebacker position. And everywhere else, there seems to be some question marks there.
Now, one interesting note I saw about that was former running back, former quarterback, even played some wide receiver, Avery Davis.
Yep.
Now in the secondary. He's playing at the cornerback position, again, with the holes at running back.
have a very good linebacker. Excited to see how Edwin Long ends up that guy at linebacker. In front of the second line, absolutely terrifying. We're all coming back. Here's the guy. I'm like, we're trying to step up and make some plays. I think they're going to be right up there like they were last year. So they can handle, those breakout ones that you can pass them. There's no one bad, but they don't have that stop. They can but how to pass them. Love, strength, very hungry passing. I'm curious how that second is going to knock off that driving up the out there. Step up and get hello. Racing's going to have to step up and do that. Corners and gas a lot of that. How are they going to look?
Yeah, Houston Griffith's going to get a shot at replacing between Love and corner. That's David Davis making that transition cornerback. We quite literally have no idea what that's going to look like. I mean, obviously he's a very talented athlete.
I feel like they're just sort of saying, you're an elite athlete, go out there and do your thing. And I'm not sure how well that works. It's a very skilled position as well. You can't just be athletic, but we'll see. Maybe Avery Davis is cut out for it.
Some other linebackers in the mix for the Notre Dame defense: Jordan Genmore-Keith, Jack Lamb, Jeremiah Owusu-Karamoa, Paul Moala, and Shane Simon. These are all guys who are getting significant reps in practice, and the coaches are just trying to wait and see. Clark Lee's sort of taking that approach and going, prove it to me in practice and see what you can do. But it does seem like there are big question marks. Drew Tranquill was such a physically perfect player for that rover position because that's just how he was built. So he's going to be really tough to replace in the rover spot. So I'm not sure I feel so strong about the defense, but offensively I think this team is more than capable of competing against the best in the country.
Honestly, I'm still pretty confident about the defense. I think that on the back of that pass rush, they're going to force teams into a lot of mistakes, and you're going to see young guys stepping up and making plays when they have to because there's nobody else there's no one else available to make those plays. I think these young guys are going to step up and, like you said, they're not in a rebuilding mode. Notre Dame's not in a position where they have to radically change anything. They're just forced to plug some holes. Right. And I think the blue and gold game is important tomorrow for these young guys to get out there in Notre Dame Stadium and play against a very good offense and really show what they're made of, show that they're capable of standing up there and making those plays. They know the system, they know the defense, and they're capable of gelling as a unit. All
right, kickers, your favorite subject, Rooney. Also a big question mark. Justin Yoon came in as a freshman, started right away, and was a reliable place kicker for Notre Dame. I think that all changes. There are a bunch of question marks. Jonathan Dorr and Harrison Leonard, who was a preferred walk-on and is heading into his sophomore year, are both fighting for that place kicker position.
Now, the interesting thing about Justin Yoon, that first season for Yoon, he did struggle a little bit with his extra points. He missed a couple of extra points early, and he struggled to really get into a groove. But these past 3 seasons have been really good from Justin Yoon. While he does not have a big boot, for example, he doesn't hit anything really more than 50 yards, he's someone who could be relied upon heavily in those 35 to 45-yard range field goals. So I think that Yoon was so reliable. I'm not quite sold on Jonathan Dorr, although, again, it may just be something where, he was a freshman this year, got a couple of opportunities to, make some extra points or a couple of field goals here and there and struggled, but, he is now entering a sophomore season now for Dorr, so I'm interested to see what he can do moving forward.
I'm less worried about the kicking game. I think that the special teams unit is good enough. I think that Dorr is good enough to knock field goals and extra points through. I'm worried about the kickoff game. Because Dorr was given several opportunities last year to be the kickoff guy and take some of the load off of Justin Yoon. And time again, we saw him boot these things into the stands, on the sideline. I mean, it was penalty after penalty. Yeah. And he needs to be able to kick that ball down the middle. I mean, I'm okay if he just boots it out of the end zone for a touchback, but keep it inbounds, please. We don't need these penalties, giving teams good field position every time because that kind of weight on a young defense, these things are going to snowball. So I think it starts with the special teams game and it ends with the special teams game. You got to be able to finish off drives, finish off extra points, finish off field goals.
We've talked about field goal kickers. Tyler Newsome's also gone. I'm sure we're about to lead into that.
Jay Bramlett is looking to replace him. He's an early enrollee, so.
And he, from what I've seen, I mean, he was one of the best high school punters in the country, and he's been talked of very highly from the special team staff and from Coach Kelly. And I think that the biggest concern is just youth. Getting special teams is such a mental game, making sure that you're focused enough to put your head down and just put the boot to the ball and don't shank your punts out of bounds. Don't give teams good field position because, again, starts and ends with special teams.
Real quick, does Phil Dracovic get any sort of chance at this thing? Or no?
Thank goodness I can sleep during spring football because there's not a quarterback controversy.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't have to read article after article about who's going to start we're going to go with the 2-quarterback system.
Right.
Ian Book is going to be the guy, and that's what I love to hear. And I love to see that Jerkovich is going to get a year of just learning under Ian Book before maybe the quarterback battle next year.
People were talking about this guy being the next Brady Quinn when he came into Notre Dame.
And then Ian Book broke all kinds of records.
Yeah.
Video game numbers, if you remember that.
There we go. That's right.
I do remember that. I think maybe we'll get to that later. I don't know. Is that in the montage?
It may be. I'm not sure.
So it should be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. Since you and I are off the show after today,
We've been canceled.
Yes. Sorry. Go home.
Ratings are plummeting.
No more calls. We have a winner. Let's get some predictions then. So what do you think about next year?
This
12-0?
is coming from a purely statistical, analytical,
100% objective
standpoint. My heart's not really in it.
as
I'm
you always-
graduating.
Always objective.
I'm
you
graduating.
always
I have no emotional
objective.
attachment. 12-0 easily. No question. Going into Michigan, we're going to absolutely tarnish Michigan and the big house.
What about Georgia?
Going down to Athens, Georgia, that one's going to be a slugfest. I've got us winning that thing. We're going to kick 5 field goals actually in that one to
Oh,
win it.
Jonathan Dorr.
You
Yeah.
sound like Lee Corso now.
Do I need to get the headgear?
Notre
Do the
Dame by
headgear in
3
here?
field goals.
But no, I think that this team, this is a third consecutive really strong season for Notre Dame to really put them back. Not that they haven't been on the map, but 3 consecutive seasons at the level at which they've been playing.
3 straight 10-win seasons. I'm trying to think back when the last time that happened.
We were not born.
Had to. I don't think we were born. Had to have been the 90s with Holtz.
Yeah.
We've had 2 back
Fingers
to back.
crossed.
Yeah.
Don't let me down.
I'm the neutral observer. I don't make predictions. So 12-0. All right. We have some special things to show you because this is our final show of the year. And we're meeting this week, and we decided it'd be kind of fun to each of us pick our favorite moment from the year and show you that. So here are some of the best of Shamrock Sports this year.
Hey, did you see this here on page 12?
Page 12.
Yeah.
Is that line 325?
Yeah, 325. 3 touchdowns, too.
Nice. Hey everyone, welcome to the second floor NDTV studios in the Duncan Student Center. I'm Johnny Soper.
I'm John Horlander.
I'm Austin Rooney.
And this is Shamrock Sports.
Sleep with one eye open, gripping your pillow tight.
5 in a row. That's a bad pressure again. Loses the football. It's a takeaway for the Irish. And Julian Love is going to score the other way. And he scoop and score. Williams turns the corner and look out. Dexter Williams in a foot race. And they run him down. No! 98-yard touchdown.
And when he arrived in Ann Arbor, it was, the coronation of the king. The prodigal son has returned home. And so far, it's been pretty underwhelming. I'm not saying he's on the hot seat, but it certainly doesn't feel like he's accomplished what they hoped he would, at least now 3 seasons in. Remember, Brian Kelly in his 3rd year took the Irish to the national championship game.
Even though that season doesn't technically count,
Right.
it counts in our hearts. But I said this when he was first hired, and I stand by it still. I think that Jim Harbaugh is the most overhyped football coach in the nation. He came into Michigan, like you said, as the prodigal son has returned. He's going to bring Michigan back to glory, whatever glory they may have ever had. And he's really struggled ever since. He's only had 1 win over any of their main rivals. They're 9-8 in their last 17 games. Only one of those wins is over a team with a winning record. They struggle against good teams. They have a ton of talent on their roster. They're a really dangerous team, but they just can't seem to win any sort of meaningful game.
I think that is the main reason for my.
All right. So you couldn't hear the end of that last clip, but basically that was you trying to claim that an FBS team who goes undefeated deserves a shot at the college football
Including
playoff.
Sam Houston State. Which
Yes.
have we
Yes.
confirmed if
Yes.
Sam Houston State is an FBS school?
No, we have not.
Okay.
Okay.
The world may never know.
Should I reiterate that argument again?
No, I don't
No.
think so.
The league is called the FBS. That might be an all-timer line from you,
I think my
Austin
top two
Rooney.
are.
The league is called the FBS.
My top two quotes from
Can
Austin
you
Rooney.
confirm the league is called the FBS?
It is. It's the football bowl series.
That
It's
is
not a
correct.
league.
It's
Bowl-
that
bowl
and then,
subdivision.
And then the time that you told us that Riley Neal was a top 10 quarterback.
He is
Ball
elite.
State quarterback.
Elite.
Riley
Does anyone
Neal,
know who Riley
top 10
Neal is? Anybody
quarterback.
heard of him? The crowd.
Check
hasn't
out
heard
that
of Riley
draft.
Neal.
Check out that draft. You see his draft stock? It's pretty high.
All right, let's bring out the entire crew. So we're gonna spend. Everyone, come out. Come on. We have 5 minutes left.
You're gonna make him stand here for 5 minutes?
Yes.
The tears are gonna be flowing.
Anthony, get out here. Jess, what are you guys waiting for?
So you see our face out here too often. And there's so many people that go into this show, that go into making the show. We meet every week. We spend such a long time trying to make this show the best it could. And it's been 15 months ago when we created it. We didn't ever anticipate that we'd have so many people become a part of it. We didn't anticipate that we'd have so many people doing such great work. And it feels like this thing is over and it's ending, but it's not, because it's just three of us that are leaving. It's us two, and where's Colleen? Colleen's over there. But no, I think I'm just so grateful to have had this opportunity to be a part of this, this group, to be a part of this show, and I'm so excited to see what happens in the next year with you guys taking over, and you especially, buddy, at the helm, Austin Rooney.
Looking forward to it.
Yes.
It's gonna be fun.
Well said. It has been a tremendous privilege to serve as the executive producer of this television station for the past
serious.
year. I have prepared remarks here. You went off the cuff, which is impressive.
It's a blank piece of paper. I did this entire show blank piece of paper. Okay.
You're not supposed to tell them that's the secret of television. They don't see what's on here.
It's up here. The notes are up here.
It has been great to be the host of this show for almost a year and a half now. We started this thing last February. We had no idea where we were going or what we were doing, and it
still
has.
don't.
No, that's true too, in more ways than one. And we could have never anticipated what this has turned into, which is what you see in front here today. It has been so much fun working with you guys and this great crew, and you all deserve recognition. So, Anthony Rio, Anthony, thank you for all your help. Anthony's a freshman. He's going to be a big part of this for years to come. Jess Jordan, Colleen Fink, Caroline Pineda, Ellen Geyer, Laney Davison, Rooney, and you, my friend. Thanks for making this a great time. It's been a lot of fun. To our friends who are out here today, thanks for supporting this show and for just being great friends. You guys are the best.
They're the reason that we have more than 3 views on YouTube.
That is true. That and my mom. It truly does mean the world to us. It really does. So thank you for all your support. To our advisor, Lori McFadden, who's standing behind. Lori, come on out.
Come on, Lori. We couldn't do
gonna
it
make
without
you
you,
do it.
Lori. She made us a cake.
Thank you. Thanks for your unwavering support and positivity and just being there for us. And we're going to miss you. I'd also like to thank my parents, Mike and Marcy, for making my Notre Dame education possible. This dream does not happen without you guys. And lastly, I'd like to congratulate you, my friend, Austin Rooney, who will be taking over as the executive producer of Notre Dame Television. NDTV is in good hands with you next year. Best of luck. It has been a fun ride with you all, and we're going to miss it. So, congratulations. Do you want to say anything as the new
Do you have prepared
executive
remarks?
producer?
Your
I'm
reign
passing
of
the
terror
torch.
begins now.
I'm passing the torch.
Well, thank you very much, Johnny. I really
I should say, though,
appreciate it.
everyone sort of jokingly throughout the year called me the executive vice dictator as the head of NDTVs, and I took that obligation very seriously. Go ahead.
So, again, thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to continuing to grow this tremendous crew we have with us and getting more people involved. And it's been a great last 15 months working on this show and working with NDTV, and I can't wait for the next 12.
It will be a lot of fun. We have 25 seconds to fill, so
I would just like to thank.
What do you have for us?
I would like to echo. Thank you so much, Lori. You have this ability to just make us all feel like anything is possible and that we can do anything. And I don't think that we would be where we are or where this show would be without your just ability to say, "What do you mean you don't think you can do that? Of course you can do that." We have done so much that I never really would have thought possible. So thank you so much.
And that's it.